Welcome to the Spiritist Companion Podcast. My name is Yuri Castro, and I'll be your companion on this journey where we study, reflect, and put Spiritist teachings into practice. If you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to tune in every Monday for a new episode, to follow our pages, to subscribe to our channel, and to send this podcast to someone else as well. My dear friends, today's theme is very intriguing, I think. The veil of forgetfulness. Why don't we remember past lives? If we have lived before, why are those memories hidden from us? And is this a limitation or a blessing? Shall we study together? First of all, what is this veil of forgetfulness? In Spiritism, this so-called veil of forgetfulness refers to the fact that upon reincarnating, the spirit does not consciously remember its previous existences. It doesn't necessarily remember everything that it has done in a past life or who the spirit was in a past life. This idea is explained by Allan Kardec, the codifier of Spiritism, in the Spirit's book, especially when we're talking about reflections regarding spiritual life and the return to corporeal life. There, we learn that the spirit has lived other existences. After all, the spirit is immortal. The spirit carries previous experiences, and it remains the same being. But at birth, it does not have clear access to those memories. And to understand forgetfulness during life, we must first understand, I think, what happens after death. Question 304 of the Spirit book says this: does the spirit remember its corporeal existence, meaning after it's discarnated? And they're going to say yes, that is, having lived several times as a human being, it remembers what it was. And I assure you that sometimes it laughs out of pity for itself. That's the answer from the wise spirit. So, in other words, the spirit remembers, it recognizes its mistakes and realizes how much it still has to learn. There is an expanded awareness, we can even call it. But this happens after death, and memory does not return immediately as well. It's neither instant and nor complete necessarily. And we have that on question 305. Does the memory of corporeal existence present itself to the spirit in a complete and unexpected way after death? They're going to say, no. It comes back little by little, like something emerging gradually from a fog as the spirit focuses on it. And I think, my dear friends, this analogy of fog is a great analogy because it also shows us something important, that the spiritual memory, quote unquote, is gradual. It unfolds according to the spirit's maturity. It is not an avalanche of memories. It is a process. If it all came down hard on the spirit, all the memories, everything it has done wrong, all the time it has wasted, and everything that it has done that was not according to the plan, can we fathom that? Can we imagine how the spirit will feel after it awakens in the other life? Does the spirit remember in detail all the events of its life? That's question 306. It remembers things according to the consequences they had on its condition as a spirit. That is to say, the spirit remembers what is important, especially what had moral impact. The memory after we go to the other side is selective and also functional. So what about the memory of our past lives when we reincarnate? Why do we forget when we reincarnate? Well, if the spirit remembers in the spiritual plane, why does it forget upon returning to earth? That's the question. We learn in the Gospel according to Spiritism, in the Spirit's book, and so many other sources that the forgetting of the past is a blessing of divine providence, not a flaw. This forgetfulness serves as protection because imagine if we remembered everything that we did before. Let's call it our serious past mistakes or the people that we harmed, the intense suffering we endured, and old conflicts that we had. Those memories, my dear friends, could generate and would likely generate paralyzing guilt, constant shame, renewed resentment even, and difficulties in current relationships. Forgetfulness, therefore, protects the spirit's journey. It allows us to start again without the overwhelming weight of the past. And this veil of forgetfulness, this divine mechanism, favors forgiveness. How? Well, without remembering exactly who hurt us or how we were hurt or what we did to others, it becomes a little easier to forgive, to start over, to build new bonds. Often we meet people from the past, but now with the chance to live differently. Without forgetfulness, love might not be possible, or it would certainly be very hard to achieve. And somebody may ask, do we forget everything? Well, even though we do not consciously remember things, nothing is lost because the spirit carries its tendencies, inclinations, abilities, difficulties, values already acquired. So we forget the events, but we retain the effects. That's why some skills feel natural, certain fears can arise without clear cause, some connections even feel immediate. Everything has a history, even if we don't recall it. This veil of forgetfulness also helps with free will. If we knew exactly who we were, what we did, and whom we owe, we might act out of obligation, out of fear, out of guilt, not helping us with true transformation. So God gives us the chance to choose the good through awareness, through learning, through real growth. This divine mechanism can also exemplify two divine attributes, I think. One, justice, something we already talked about at length in this podcast, and we'll continue talking about it. Nothing is lost. Everything has consequences, and that is justice. Also, mercy, because we can begin again without the full weight of the past. God does not condemn us to painful remembrance, but neither does He deprive us of learning. And we can think of practical examples of this in daily lives. For instance, and I think the most obvious one perhaps, difficult relationships. Sometimes we encounter people with immediate conflict, unexplained dislike, persistent difficulties, and Spiritism invites us to reflect that there may be a past history there, but not remembering that history is actually useful because it allows us to choose patience, which was our previous episode, number 43, respect, and choose reconciliation without the burden of memory. We can also think of natural talents, because some people show ease with music, with certain intellectual ability, certain emotional sensitivity as well. This may be the result of past experiences. The veil of forgetfulness does not erase any achievements. It only hides the memory of the path taken. Moreover, fears and insecurities, fears without apparent cause, may have deep roots. But instead of asking only, who was I? The more important question, I think, is, what can I do with this now? Spiritism is practical, something I like to highlight all the time here. More important than remembering, perhaps, is transforming the present. Number 4, guilt and repentance. Without forgetfulness, the veil of forgetfulness, we might remain trapped in the past. With it, we have a new chance, a new perspective, a new beginning. Our current life is an opportunity to write a new story. We forget, but conscience remains. Even without remembering, our spiritual conscience guides us. We feel what is right, what is wrong, what brings peace, and what disturbs us. This inner voice, a lot of the times, is the result of accumulated experiences. Now let's bring this teaching to our daily life. How can we apply this? First, avoiding judgment. We do not know anyone's spiritual history. Well, we can't even remember our own. How can we judge? Number 2, value the present. This is where we build our spiritual future, I think, here and now. Work on our tendencies. They can help reveal what we need to transform. Number 4, practice forgiveness. Even without knowing the past, we can choose the good. Number 5, trust divine wisdom. If we forget, it is because it helps us evolve. It is because God wanted it this way. My dear friends, the veil of forgetfulness is not a loss. It is an opportunity. A chance to begin again without overwhelming guilt, without old hatred, and without the prisons of the past. But with everything that truly matters, the ability to learn, the freedom to choose, and the possibility to love, may we use this new page of life wisely. Because even without remembering yesterday, we are still building tomorrow now. Thank you so much, my dear friends, for your company in another episode of the Spiritist Companion Podcast. I hope this reflection resonated with you, even if just a little. And if it did, please share this episode with someone else who is also seeking to better understand the paths of the soul. Also, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, to follow our pages, to help us grow even more and more so this message may reach other people. We'll meet again in the next episode, the next Monday. And until then, my dear friends, remain in peace, trust in divine wisdom, and keep walking one step at a time under the light of Spiritism. With fraternal love, your Spiritist Companion.